I'm not seeking re-election come 2024. I'm going to focus on my family.
At that chamber breakfast, when he announced his decision, the mayor said he wouldn't rule out the possibility of someday getting back into local politics. Now, just 2 weeks after that announcement, as he talks about wrapping up his final year as mayor and what he still wants to accomplish, it seems that return to politics could come much sooner than anyone expected. As Rosenquest says he is already considering a run for city council. And Mayor Chris Rosenquest joins us now. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
Doing well.
Great.
So you kind of did the mic drop thing at the chamber breakfast the other day.
Yeah. You know, I was assuming that it would come up at some point. We're right at the beginning of this year's election cycle. Get out there, start collecting petitions at the beginning of February. And I wanted to make it clear what my intentions were. I know that people have been asking and have been weighing the benefits of running or not running. It has been a very difficult decision, considering that, the last 3 years, I still have another year in my election, my administration, so I'm not going anywhere. But even in the last 3 years, we've been able to do a significant amount of improvement for the city.
When you gathered with the reporters after you made the announcement, you said that your son, who is 6, had said something to you about the amount of time that you were away, and did that weigh heavily into your decision?
It has weighed. That's really the primary reason why I'm not running. Like I said, then first and foremost, I'm a father, then I'm a husband, and then I'm a mayor. The other day, we were getting ready to go get out the house, and he comes up to me and says, "Daddy, can you drive me to school? It's okay if you say no." And already I can see him creating mechanisms to avoid disappointment when I'm not around. And I'm not around a lot, either early morning meetings or traveling for conferences. I was just away for 2 nights at a conference down in Albany, or late nights in the office. This is not a 9-to-5 job for me. Being the mayor is just that. It becomes an identity almost, and you have to be responsive. You cannot just turn the phone off at 4:30 and go home. This is 24 hours a day on call. Sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm leaving the house to go check on a water main break, or if there's a major emergency or a fire, I'll show up just to check in. And so, yeah, it's a role that it's demanding. It's rewarding. But at the end of the day, I am focused on my family.
You still have another year, as you said.
Yeah.
You'll be in the mayor's office through the end of the year. As you look ahead, what are your priorities for your final year? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, so we've started a number of major infrastructure improvement projects. The bike-friendly Plattsburgh plan, which again, increasing multimodal transportation and safe streets for walking and biking. We've got that project. City Hall roof is underway. City Hall steps underway. We've got the Brinkerhoff and Court Street corridors, which was part of the Margaret Street redevelopment, but was postponed due to funding. We have grant funding for that project. We'll continue to do the parks renewal. Again, shovels in the ground this summer. We start seeing improvements in the parks. With $2.6 million allocated to the parks, which from what we can tell has never been done in the city of Plattsburgh. Those are really the major tangible projects that we should see complete. Broad Street. We did a Broad Street study and potential redesign of Broad Street to reduce the traffic lanes and maintain the safety of that street. As you know, it's residential and school, 2 different schools on that street. So really those are the projects that we have in hand that we should see complete, hopefully be complete by the end of this year. And then moving into next year, obviously we've got the remainder of the parks to do, the local waterfront revitalization program, the Harborside Master Plan, all these projects that can potentially be funded through grants that are in the wings.
And for the parks, is the Oval a big part of it this year, the big push this year?
Yeah, the Oval's a major part because we use that for sports programming, we use that for soccer, football, lacrosse, and then any public events that we might have over there at the gazebo. A lot of the call that we have is to install bathrooms and restroom facilities, which makes complete sense if we want people to be using these parks. We have to have the basic amenities. Then on top of that, we're looking at a walking path on the Oval, as well as other improvements throughout the other parks.
And you mentioned there's also money for a study to see potentially what to do with Sailors Beach, which is a beach a lot of folks aren't aware of.
Yeah, that's a beach that's pretty much tucked away. When I grew up and lived on the Air Force Base, that's the beach that we went to, as well as the city beach, to enjoy our summers. But yeah, that's a beach that's in a bit disrepair. Not too long ago, maybe within the last 10 years, that road was washed out, and it was impossible to get down to the beach. And so this feasibility study really takes a look at what can we do with this beach. That concrete pier is in shambles. We want to take care of that, and at least have a plan to take care of that to allow people to use that again. But again, this is one of these waterfront projects that we just completely forget about, because when we talk about waterfront in the city, we primarily focus on the city beach, but we don't think about the Saranac River being waterfront. We don't think about Sailors, the Point Park, and we also don't think about the Sailors Beach as being part of our waterfront. This is all part of it.
And City Beach, your last year, are you hopeful to move ahead on that at all with the crate now down, or will that have to wait another year or two?
I think that'll end up waiting. At this point, and as we said before, we really wanted to start with a blank slate. Sometimes it's just better to start with a clean canvas, and then start to envision out from there. I've had many business owners and people who are interested in developing that beach say we need an amphitheater. I don't disagree with that. That's something that the 2016 waterfront feasibility study called for. But I think at this point it's a matter of building towards that rather than building something in hopes that it will be used. We are seeing more use of the city beach, either with the Mayor's Cup, which moved to the city beach several years ago. Even though I was a little bit hesitant and skeptical that was going to work, it's been amazing to have that event at the city beach. And we're seeing more of that. We're seeing people approach the city to have more events, the concerts, music festivals at the city beach. And so we'll start to build momentum towards that. And I think it would be a good use for the city beach. But again, I think it's more prudent to build momentum to something towards that rather than try to build something and hope that it gets used.
Some other projects that you've been involved with and perhaps would like to see advance before you leave, downtown waterfront hotel, any hope of revisiting that? And then do you think there could be movement on that?
Probably likely not in my administration, unfortunately. And which is sad. We need a hotel. We see hotels that are being built all throughout our region, just not in the city of Plattsburgh, because of the opinion that we don't need one, or some concern over environmentals that have already been answered. But at the end of the day, the city of Plattsburgh does need a hotel. I would like for the city to come back and revisit that in the near future. But it probably is not going to. I'm not going to see that in my administration.
Yorkie Street project, hopeful that you may be able to clear the legal hurdles and see that move forward?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because it's at the court right now, and the Court of Appeals needs to make some jurisdictional decision on that litigation. And it is interesting because it shifted its focus away from the project itself into what a more of a legal question for not only the city of Plattsburgh but municipalities throughout New York State. Which is, does the seeker process, which is clearly defined by New York State, give municipalities like ours local deference for environmental concerns? That's the biggest question right now. It has nothing to do with the project itself.
Any hope that may be resolved and moving forward before you leave office?
I would hope so. I mean, we're looking at 11 months for this to be for this to transition through the courts. It's already been there for a good maybe 6 or 7 months already. That's still a question. Why is it taking so long?
That would be housing that you think would be important for the downtown, 100 units of housing?
Critical that we start to really take a good hard look and take real decisive actions on how to add housing. One thing that we've been doing is going through the zoning code process, which we talked about at the breakfast. And that too is a significant change that needs to happen, that has not happened in the last 30 years. We're already in talks with developers that are interested in developing housing in the city of Plattsburgh. They know it's a bit of a hurdle considering the current zoning codes, but they also know that we're in the process to make those changes to make it easier for them.
The governor proposing incentives in her budget. Will the city try to qualify for those incentives for developers and for the city?
Yeah, that's a pro-housing community, and we're looking at how can we at least let the governor's office know that we are actively working towards being a pro-housing community.
At the breakfast, you also talked again about the need to hire a city manager to run the city. Is this something you're hopeful you might still be able to accomplish before you leave office?
100%, and I think that this is something that our city needs to take a real serious look at. We really need to have someone more consistent running the organization. This whole churn every 4 years creates a bit of stress, and then on top of that, you may not know who you get. You may not get somebody with a business background that can negotiate and manage budget, and also be the face of our city at the same time down in Albany and make those connections. I don't want to comment on anybody that could potentially run for office, but at the end of the day, if their resume does not match up with the ability to run a $67 million organization with 200 plus employees, four bargaining units, the city is not going to be in much better shape where it comes to making sure that this organization can sustain.
You hope to get it before voters this November?
Yeah, I do.
As we're sitting here today, sitting down to talk, right now, one Democrat, County Legislator Wendell Hughes, has announced his interest in running for mayor, and there may likely be others. Have you or will you encourage anyone in particular to run?
I don't know if I'll encourage anyone in particular to run. I will say anybody that reaches out to me with the intention to run, I will make it clear to them what my goals are before the end of this year, which includes promoting city manager form of government and putting that to the voter. I have had calls with other people that are interested in running for this office.
Likely you will endorse one of the candidates?
That's a good question. I don't know yet. I think that I'll wait to see how that plays out and to see who comes out. I don't have, most people know I run as a Democrat, but I do not have a good, strong party affiliation with the local Democrats. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
After you leave office, you've said you plan to stay here in Plattsburgh. You're going to run your coffee shop in the downtown. And will you look to stay involved in the community?
Of course, I have no other option, to be honest. That's just who I am. I have not ruled out lower office either. I know that there's an option to run for a ward seat. That is something I am weighing heavily right now. I don't know if that's going to pan out or not. But again, it doesn't. I don't feel like the 10, 15 hours a week as a counselor would encroach in my goals of improving my relationship with my family and spending more time with Miles and spending more time in my business. I'm not ruling that out, but I know it's a little bit unconventional for a mayor to become then a counselor. But at the end of the day, I'm going to contribute to the community as best I see fit and what works for my family.
Could you run as soon as this fall?
I could run as soon as this fall. I don't know. Again, I'm looking at some options and I'll weigh those options.
All right. Mayor Rosenquest,
thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you.
Chris Rosenquest has about a month and a half to decide if in fact he will run for city council this November. He lives in Ward 3, which means if he runs, he would likely face incumbent Democrat Elizabeth Gibbs, who has been one of the mayor's most vocal critics on the council.